So basically, parents will be impacted by this too. In order for someone to prove that they are above the age of 16, ID is going to be required. And so adults are also going to have to submit their sensitive information to all social media platforms where this is going to take effect. And so what you're going to have is social media companies and online tech platforms that all have our IDs now and become honeypots for potential hacks and breaches of security. That's
You take everything we love and you just can't help shovel your bullshit crap ideology into everything, every single solitary thing.
Well, at the time of this recording, Jeremy from the Quartering was warning about this, that this was being pushed right before New Year's, before Congress went on its vacay. And, this is what happens. And this is why you have to be careful. That old saying, that Pelosi goes, you got to pass it before reading it.
But we have to pass the bill so that you can find out what is in it.
This is the dangerous situation when bills like this get pushed into the Congress. And I always say this: you can't push these bills, especially when it comes to violating the Constitution. We've already had a video out this week talking about the age verification in Tennessee, that it's being halted temporarily because it's unconstitutionality. They're also waiting for SCOTUS, which I believe it's been moved up to Jan 15 now. I thought it was supposed to be February, but it's Jan 15 now that we'll be seeing SCOTUS look at this. And we're hoping that it's going to go the way of the Free Speech Coalition. The other part of this with the age verification or age insurance is another bill that's called the KOSA, or Kids Online Safety Act, which is also a danger. This is a bipartisan situation that was going on for quite some time now. It's been going on for a couple of years. Blumenthal has been behind this with Marsha Blackburn. Basically, they just want it. This is literally just a censorship bill. These are the things that we've been warning you for quite some time. We've said this on numerous occasions on the video, that this will harm our freedom of speech. This will harm the First Amendment to the point, because that's what they're trying to do. They're not trying to protect the safety of children on the internet. The government should not be involved in this situation. I'll say it again. The government should not be in the policy of policing the internet, because what they're trying to do in the guise of trying to protect children is they're trying to limit speech. We've been going through this with several elections where we know today, 2025, at the time on this, that Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, many others have been throttling back on conservative talking points. And it has been for quite some time. This video might be pushed back for some of the things I might say. But remember, we have a constitution in this country. There is no such thing as hate speech. Okay? Misinformation, all that. In order to have a dialogue of information, we must be able to debate these situations. It said once was, who was it? I'm trying to remember who said it.
People today, they actually think hate speech is unconstitutional. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not. Just for those of you playing at home, it's not. Hate speech is not unconstitutional. It may be offensive, but welcome to America. We're allowed to offend here. Mm-hmm. Right? So.
Can you say that one more time? I just want to be sure everybody heard what you just said.
Welcome to America. We're allowed to offend here.
As far as, if you want to insult somebody, if you don't like a particular thing, you're able to say it. As long as you're not threatening anybody, not basically threatening violence to the situation, you can say it. This is America. There are other countries that you cannot say these things. That you can't discuss about transgenders. You can't discuss about elections that basically you might have a doubt on an election. You might have a doubt on a medical decision. You might have a doubt on education standards, and so on and so on and so on. Or you might have a doubt on, say for example, you don't want your kids to see a certain type of entertainment. That's fine. You that's your choice. Shouldn't be the choice of the government to censor that. Plain and simple. Now, there's an article. By the time this video reaches out to you, probably more outlets will probably be talking about this. At the time this article was written, which was December 30th, and this was around 4 in the morning Eastern, I believe, on this. This is a Colorado paper called CPR News, I believe it's out of Denver. Despite strong bipartisan support, bill to protect kids online fails to advance in Congress. See, this is the situation. You would have not known this if it wasn't for someone like myself, or like Jeremy at the Quartering, or Tim Pool, Timcast IRL, or even Crowder, or many others. This is the danger that happens in our government. That they put out these bills. We just knocked down one bill that was 1,500 pages because it had some of this in it. More money to censor the internet, to censor our freedom of speech. This happens. If it wasn't that Elon Musk and Donald Trump put this on the internet to tell you what is going on. Some people, criticize Elon Musk for saying it. No. This is, the things that we're allowed to talk about. So let's read into this. When lawmakers wrapped up the 118th Congress to head home for the holidays, they left a lot undone. One of the biggest issues that they didn't get to check off on the to-do list was the legislation to protect kids from harmful effects of social media, despite the last-minute press to get it through. The Kids Online Safety Act passed in the Senate this summer, 91-3. By mid-December, after some tweaks to the language, it had conservative heavyweights like Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. urging Speaker Mike Johnson to give it a vote in the House. It was to vote against it, really. That's what, this article didn't really put that into it. But in the end, that didn't happen, much to chagrin of its backers. For co-sponsor Brittany Pearson, who was expecting her second child in January, this issue hits close to home. I met with a constitutionally local who talked about her daughter, who was 8 years old, who was dared to do things online and ultimately, unfortunately, die. That's a different issue. The Jefferson County Democrat recalled. And so, what duty of care are we going to put up on social media platforms for identifying harmful messages like this? The bill would have required social media companies to create a stronger controls to protect the data of minors, default to the highest privacy settings for their accounts, and give parents new controls to protect their kids online. There are plenty of control for parents to use on their kids online. If the kids get around it, they're smart. Get them an IT education. It also would have created a duty of care, meaning companies would have been required to take reasonable steps to prevent harm from their use of their platforms. There are situations in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok that, like for example, the TikTok challenges. That is a situation. This is why TikTok needs to be sold away, because this is there's government intervention even with that. We have the CCP allowing that to happen. They're allowing to push that forward because basically they want to put a detriment into our country, our children. They're using our children to fight their wars. House Speaker Mike Johnson defended his decision not to bring the bill to the floor at a press conference earlier this month, saying that as a parent, he's passionate about protecting children online, but has concerns on how the Kids Online Safety Act could impact free speech. I think all of us, 100% of us, support the principle behind it, but if you got to get this one right, he said, when you're dealing with the regulation of free speech, you can't go too far and have it be overbroad. But if you want to achieve those objectives, so it's essential that we get this issue right. See, here's the problem. Every one of these proposals that they put through, the changes, is still very broad, which is basically brings in the unconstitutionality of this bill. When you're tackling laws on this, you have to be precise in the language. But see, the thing about it is, you all got a bunch of lawyers out there that basically, and you got basically activists and those who want to make money off of this, that basically will run rickshaw over this to put in their 2 cents to the situation. Johnson predicted that the new Congress will be able to tackle the issue without delay, saying he is optimistic they will act early next year. For proponents, the idea of having to restart the bill in the next Congress is frustrating given the wide bipartisan support as seen by Senate vote. Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal, who introduced the bill with conservative GOP Senator Marsha Blackburn, said that there's an urgency to addressing the issue as kids are deeply and desperately harmed on a daily by things they encounter on social media. It's not only on social media. Okay, it is in their schools. It is on the streets to the situation. You know, you're not all you're doing is you're putting a band-aid to the situation on mental health. You're going about it the wrong way. Burning books, burning the Constitution isn't a way of protecting children. Yes, there is a mental health situation, but it is also being fueled by activists out there. This is a major situation. Whether it's the bullying, whether it's the transgender situations that are out there, you know, like I said, I don't have anything against homosexuality, transgender, to the situation. You want to wear a dress, you're an adult, that's your choice. You don't push it upon children. You don't tell children, well, if you have a question, you're not in your right body. Boys and girls will always have a question about everything in life. That's growing up. That's what it means to grow up. I had questions, and I got my answers. And hey, listen, I'm almost in my 60s, and I still have a lot of questions in my life. Doesn't mean I'm in the wrong body. Doesn't mean that I need to change or butcher myself to the situation. No, it doesn't mean that. Reading on. But he has also acknowledged getting the bill through was never going to be easy. We were prepared to fight big tech. It's mustering armies of lawyers and lobbyists against us, and it would likely kill the bill. But goddamn, there are lobbyists who are funding to want this bill. Remember that. Just like there's bipartisan support for the bill, its opposition is made up by strange bedfellows. The ACLU, tech lobbyists, LGBTQ advocacy groups, to name just a few. They worry the bill could open the door to politicians policing the internet. In a future conference this summer, Evan Greer, executive director of the digital rights group Fight for the Future, said KOSA purports to focus on the design flaws and privacy violations of social media companies. But in fact, unfortunately, it's effectively a blank check for censorship of any piece of content that an administration could claim is harmful to kids. That is correct. What is harmful to kids? We had a woman, a mother, down south in the Carolinas that claimed that the manga book Assassination Classroom, high school students their brains wouldn't understand it. She thought it was a bad book. But actually, it is a great story. It is not a story about killing teachers. It is a story about kids who happen to be outsiders that basically they don't have that many friends. They've been tasked to save the world from an alien who claims he will destroy the world, but he wants to teach kids. And this alien, as much as they thought that basically could destroy the world, wants to teach kids an education and teaches things of life itself. Subject matters that basically that kids might have questions about. Yes, they use weapons, but those weapons are only effective to that alien alone. It happens to be a very funny manga. The anime is fantastic. But yet this mother, because I think it was her daughter, was reading it. She saw that, oh, they're shooting a teacher. Have you seen what the teacher looks like? That goes to show you didn't pay attention to what the subject matter is. Some LGBTQ groups worry about the information about gender identities. Sexual orientation could be targeted for censorship under that bill. But at the same time, others argue LGBTQ youth face greater dangers from social media. Yes and no to the situation. Young children up into middle school should not be talking about sexual orientation, gender identity. They should not be talking about that. Not at all. When you get to start to learn biology in high school, if you have some questions on that, fine. That's when it comes up. We want kids to be able to access information and find their community online, said Zach Zaslaw, president of the advocacy and community group Health at Children's Hospital Colorado, which supports KOSA. We know that some kids that are gay, non-binary, transgender, that may be most likely to be at risk of suicide. Their kids are most in need of protection from some of the harms the kids are encountering online. This is not one of the causes of these suicide. The cause of this is because that you're pushing these situations onto these children. These are children that don't understand the nature of it. They're not adults. If you're an adult, you want to be gay, that's not a problem. You want to wear a dress, you want to wear pants, that's not a problem. That is your situation. But some of it can cause mental health issues, even as adults as well. I've met some people that literally are just insane crazy that even those in the gay community were afraid of. I worked in a place where we had a amount of coworkers that were transgender, that were gay. This is a situation. Nobody had problems with them. But there were some that were in between there that, yeah, they caused problems. That even gay people didn't want to deal with them. And other transgender people didn't want to deal with them because of the way they acted. The last time Congress passed a bill trying to protect kids on the internet was in 1998, when the World Wide Web was just a nascent. This was in the same 90s when they tried to get rid of Saturday morning cartoons, which they did, which they successfully did. They tried to attack the mainstream music industry, video games, television, and those same people that were trying to get rid of it are still in office today. Do you remember when the rock band was prosecuted for the self-deletion of two young men who supposedly the parents said they were listening to their music and they believed the music was what caused their demise? And a judge sided with the band itself. Because basically, these kids had problems. Where were the parents at the time? These kids were locking themselves in the room, smoking pot, drinking, and, they're listening to music, watching TV. It's a situation. You had in Russia, guy committed suicide in a suit. They tried to blame it on the anime Death Note at that point. Dr. Sandra Fritsch, medical director, sorry if I mispronounced that, at Pediatric Medical Health Institute at Children's Hospital, Colorado, said a lot has changed for young people since then. The hospital has declared a youth mental health emergency. Actually, it should be a total mental health emergency. In May 2021, during the COVID pandemic. Well, there was a reason why they declared it in 2021. We were all locked in. Remember that. The child mental health pandemic really predates COVID-19. It was on the rise between 2009 and 2019. Pretty significant. That went along with the association of rising screen time, she explained. While Fritz added correlation doesn't necessarily mean causation, the two things, that decline in kids' mental health and the increase in internet usage, have gone hand in hand. For backers of KOSA at the time has come for the industries to be regulated to try to reduce everything from bullying and suicide to child sexual exploitation, which is all outside the internet. Remember that. Yes, they could bully online, but they also bully inside the school. What are you doing on that? For someone who was bullied in their youth, where there was no internet, do you know what happened? The courts. My parents took this to court. And they pulled out, and this was before The Simpsons, boys will be boys. Put some boxing gloves on them, let them have it out.
Judge Snyder, motion to declare a writ of boys will be boys.
Motion granted. Case dismissed.
But it was the parents that was driving this situation. Driving the bullying. Do you understand that? Do you understand that? That on occasion, because of who knows why, this particular person was bullying me because their parents put them up to it. I was attacked on a constant basis. I've had my winter coat ripped open with a knife during a school event. A brand new coat. My mother and father had just bought it for me. And it was ripped up. No one else's coat was ripped up, just mine. I don't even tell you how many times I've gone through glasses when I was a kid. I've gone through broken glasses left and right because of the attacks that I've been through. Funny part is that years later in my adulthood, that same person tried to reach out to me as a friend online, and I just literally blocked them. My younger brother, gave him his 2 cents to the situation. Same thing happens today, but nothing is done to the situation. Kids are bullied on there, but they're going to blame the tools. They're going to blame the internet for that. But it's the person. It's the same thing with guns. They blame the guns, but it's the person who's behind the gun who pulls that trigger. The bully is the one who's bullying, who's typing in that situation. They're responsible for these situations. Don't blame the machinery. Blame the human behind it. Continuing on, this industry has grown up and it's now thriving. It's time for the U.S. government to start to regulate the internet industry so they have to create products that are designed for child safety. At least those spaces where children are expected to participate, said Dr. Waldman Full, a professor of pediatrics at the CA School of Medicine, who has studied how technology is being used to abuse children. Well, see, here's the one thing about this. Dumb phones. Kids who are under 8, in high school, the biggest argument that they have with the cellular phones these days with parents is that I need to get in touch with my child. Okay, why do you need a child with internet access on a phone? Those type of phones that don't have internet access is still available to this day. Elderly people buy those type of phones on a constant basis. They don't want that. They don't want to peruse the internet. They want to just call their friends or call for a cab or call for a reservation. They don't need all that. Some of them do. I mean, my mother has an internet-capable phone, regular smartphone, but she doesn't use the internet. She doesn't use Facebook. She doesn't use any of these things. She's in her 70s, and she doesn't use this. Finally, continuing on, advocates like the political push to seatbelt the moment when society recognized it was safer to people who wear seatbelts and use the power of government to require automakers to install them and drivers to wear them. But see, it still doesn't work. There's a lot of people who don't wear their seatbelts. That's why there are people ticketed. This is, to that situation. But whether Congress will meet this moment with the same resolve is an open question. And there's a little bit more toward this. Go ahead, go out there and read it. A lot of these companies, they hide behind Section 230 when they create these issues, which, that's one thing that needs to be reformed. Because that's an issue here on the internet itself, on social media, is you censor certain things and you don't censor other things. See, perfect example here is you have adult material, okay? Now, YouTube, for example, doesn't allow pornography on their sites. But there is pornography on YouTube. And I'm not talking about a lot of the girls that are in bikinis or do bikini hauls and stuff like that. We're talking about the naked yoga, some of it that's disguised as pornography. I saw one time a while back, and it got pulled, that these two girls that were claiming it was naked, listed as naked yoga, they were actually they were clothed with what they call hooker heels, if you know what hooker heels are. Those are those clear heels. And they're just essentially grinding in the video. Now, YouTube did pull it down, but there are similar those type of videos that are produced that are out there. And there are also sites that basically pushed, content creators that push adult material to adult sites that basically I wouldn't even trust. We're not talking Pornhub, we're not talking Xvideo, we're talking any of those. We're talking sites that are like almost like going into the dark web that will pull your information. Look how long that this content creator has been on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. If they've been on just for a couple of days and they're throwing out all this information at you, I'd question it. Look how many people that have subscribed to their channels. If it's like one or two situation on there, it's an issue. Yes, it's hard to get on these channels, have to push this through. But, these are the things that happen. KOSA is a situation. Age assurance, or it used to be age verification, is a situation. Our Constitution is being attacked. This is what's happening. So comment. Let me know your thoughts about this. Don't forget to hit that like, share this video. Hopefully today's the day I've earned your subscription. There are situations out there around the world like the CCP. And you look at them and see how they censor the internet. This is what they want to push here. Remember that. Put that into the perspective on these online censorship bills. So remember that. So until next time, thank you for tuning in. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. We'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye now.